Now we find ourselves facing a forgotten prophecy of Padre Pio, one that is directly connected to March 31st, 2025. During his moments of contemplation and prayer, he revealed to a few close ones an event of global magnitude that would shake humanity. In one of his most enigmatic writings, Padre Pio warned about a time of great darkness, when the world would face an unprecedented revelation. He spoke about a night when the sky would be filled with an unusual light, and then a profound silence would take over the earth. According to his accounts, those who are not prepared will face indescribable suffering, as this event would mark a turning point in the spiritual history of humanity. Before we begin, I need to ask you a question. And if I told you that some prophecies have been hidden for decades, and that now the signs are unfolding before our eyes? The visions of Padre Pio about the global collapse, the 3 days of darkness, and the fall of a great nation may not just be old stories. There is evidence that something big is about to happen, and the time to prepare may be running out. The Vatican kept part of these revelations secret, but now, with the world on the brink of chaos, these prophecies are coming to light. What did Padre Pio foresee? How can this directly affect your life? And most importantly, is there still time to act? Watch until the end, because what you will discover might change everything you believe about the future. What makes this prophecy even more unsettling is that many researchers believe the conditions for this event have already begun to align. The signs? A series of unexplained climatic events, an increase in global tensions, and above all, a widespread feeling that something is about to happen. The Vatican itself keeps documents about Padre Pio's visions in its archives, but few have had access to their full content. What is in those records that the Church is afraid to reveal? In recent years, a growing number of scholars have been investigating these revelations and discovering strange patterns. According to rare documents and testimonies preserved over time, Padre Pio warned that when certain signs began to occur in sequence, the countdown to that event would have already begun. And what is even more surprising, 3 of these signs have already materialized. The first was a noticeable change in the world's spiritual vibration, an increase in confusion, despair, and loss of faith. The second, inexplicable climatic phenomena that challenge even the most skeptical scientists. And the third, a development within the Vatican itself that many believe is connected to its final prophecy. But there is something even more frightening. Father Pio left a clear warning. Those who are not ready for the darkness will be consumed by it. What does that mean? Are we approaching a point of no return? Now the question that remains is, what will be the next signal? And are we really prepared for what might happen on March 31st, 2025? And if that moment is closer than we imagine, the signs described by Padre Pio have already begun to appear, and the parallels with the current reality are unsettling. In the United States, we see a deeply divided society, with political conflicts intensifying each day. Protests, violence in the streets, and a growing distrust in institutions seem to indicate that the first part of the prophecy is already underway. But this is just the beginning. The economic crisis predicted by Padre Pio seems to be approaching rapidly. Experts warn of a possible global recession, bank failures, and an increasingly fragile financial system. If their words are true, this crisis will not just be a temporary setback, but the trigger for something much bigger. The scariest point, however, is the great final catastrophe mentioned in his prophecy. He didn't give specific details, but what could that event be? An unprecedented natural disaster, a war, or something we still cannot comprehend? What we know is that, according to his words, after this tragedy, the world as we know it will be irreversibly changed. His followers believe that this revelation was not given to instill fear, but rather to alert and prepare those who are willing to listen. Father Pio himself emphasized that prayer and faith would be the only ways to get through the difficult times to come. But is humanity prepared to heed this warning? Now more than ever, the words of Padre Pio seem to resonate with unprecedented urgency. The signs are there, and it's up to each of us to decide whether we will ignore them or prepare for what is to come. What do you think? Is this prophecy coming true before our eyes? Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to continue following these revelations. Time may be running out, and understanding what is to come could be the key to navigating what awaits us. The 3 days of darkness will not happen without warning. Father Pio described clear signs that would precede this terrifying event, allowing those who are attentive to prepare. He warned that the world would collapse in phases, with each sign becoming more intense and impossible to ignore. But only those spiritually awakened would recognize the true meaning of these events. The first sign would be an unprecedented global crisis. This crisis would not be restricted to a single nation. It would spread throughout the world, affecting governments, economies, and entire populations. It would be a period of growing chaos, marked by political instability, financial collapse, and a wave of violence that would spread like a plague. Next, an even more disturbing second sign would occur. Padre Pio spoke about a complete inversion of society's moral values, where sin would be glorified and truth ridiculed. He warned that people would completely lose their discernment of right and wrong, living as if God did not exist. At that time, those who remained faithful would be persecuted, rejected, and even silenced. Then the third warning would come. Nature would begin to react violently. Earthquakes, hurricanes, and volcanic eruptions would increase in frequency and intensity, affecting unexpected locations. The sky would display disturbing signs, with inexplicable phenomena being witnessed by millions. He mentioned that these events would be a final call for people to seek God before the ultimate darkness. The last sign would be an unusual night. The sky would take on a strange color, something never seen before, and a silence would envelop the world. The next morning, the light would not return. This would be the beginning of the 3 days of darkness, an unprecedented purification, a time when only those protected by faith would be spared. Padre Pio was emphatic. This event would not be a metaphor or a symbol. He warned that when the darkness arrived, it would be too late to seek refuge. The doors should remain locked, and no one should look outside. Those who disobeyed would be consumed by the overwhelming force that would take over the world. What does this prophecy really mean? Would it be a literal warning, or a major event of transformation? Time is running out, and the signs are already everywhere. The question is, are we prepared for what is to come? Father Pio's prediction about the economic and social collapse seems to be unfolding before our eyes. The increase in inequality, the out-of-control cost of living, and the growing global crisis are signs that the prophecy may be closer than we imagine. But what comes next? What will be the event that marks the point of no return? Padre Pio warned that, after the collapse of economies and the escalation of conflicts, an even more terrifying event would occur. He spoke of a great darkness that would take over the world, a period where fear and despair would dominate humanity. The chaos would not be just physical, but also spiritual. It would be a time when faith would be tested like never before, and only those who remained steadfast in God would find refuge. In recent years, we have seen increasingly evident signs that something grand is coming, from political instability to technological advances that can be used for mass control and manipulation. All the pieces seem to be falling into place. But the question many are asking is, are we prepared? Father Pio's prophecy was not just a warning of destruction, but a call for spiritual preparation. He insisted that those who trusted in God would be protected, and that prayer would be the greatest weapon against the coming darkness. He mentioned that the signs would be visible to those who knew where to look, and that the time to act was running out. Now the question remains, have the signs already begun? Is the world on the brink of an event that will change everything? Many believe so. But regardless of the answer, one thing is certain: ignoring these warnings can be a fatal mistake. After all, what if the prophecies are true? What if the signs really point to something much greater? Time is running out. The choice between being prepared or being caught off guard is in our hands. And when the darkness finally falls, it will be too late to turn back. He predicted that tremors would hit regions that had historically never experienced significant seismic activity. According to Padre Pio, this would be a final warning, a clear sign that tribulation was rapidly approaching. He said that when the earth began to move unpredictably, it would be evidence that the world was about to enter a period of unprecedented suffering. In recent years, we have seen exactly that. Earthquakes appearing in unexpected places, tremors recorded in areas where seismic activity was practically non-existent. Moreover, volcanoes dormant for centuries have begun to awaken, spewing ash and lava, as if the earth itself were reacting to something greater. But natural disasters would not be the only warning. Padre Pio spoke of signs in the sky. He mentioned that celestial phenomena would confuse scientists, and that the world would begin to see lights, explosions, and inexplicable astronomical events. He said that the sky would become a stage for omens of what was to come. Curiously, in recent decades, the number of sightings of strange objects in the skies has increased drastically. Authorities around the world have started to take these phenomena more seriously, investigating and disclosing information that was previously kept secret. For many, this is just the advancement of technology, allowing for better records. For others, it is a sign that something greater is happening, just as Padre Pio warned. So the inevitable question arises: if all these prophecies have already begun to come true, how much time do we have left before the arrival of the 3 days of darkness? Padre Pio never gave an exact date, but he was clear about the warnings that would come beforehand. And these warnings are all around us. Is humanity on the brink of an event that will change the course of history forever? Are we living in the prophesied days, in the final moments before a great divine judgment? One thing is certain: ignoring these signs could be an irreversible mistake. Those who listen and prepare will have a chance to survive spiritually, but those who mock the warnings may be caught off guard when the darkness finally falls. If Padre Pio was right, the United States may be heading towards a collapse that goes far beyond politics and economics. He predicted that a great nation, once prosperous and powerful, would fall into ruins due to its own choices and its rejection of spiritual principles. He warned that, when this happened, that nation would face an unprecedented crisis, and the entire world would feel its consequences. He also spoke of a moment when this great power would face a divine judgment. The calamities would not only be the result of human crises, but also signs that something greater was happening. Floods, droughts, devastating fires, and a land that seems to be fighting against its inhabitants. In recent years, we have seen exactly that, with extreme weather events and natural disasters that defy explanation. But there is something even more concerning. Padre Pio mentioned that this powerful nation would see its influence rapidly diminish. The rest of the world would begin to turn away from it, alliances would be broken, and at the most critical moment, its enemies would emerge, taking advantage of its weakness. Today we see international tensions growing, and some alliances that seem solid are being tested. If all this is already happening, the inevitable question is, what will be the next step? Padre Pio spoke of an unexpected event, something that would shock everyone and mark the beginning of a new time of trial. Something that would come suddenly, without warning, and leave the world in shock. Could it be the collapse of a global economy? An unexpected conflict? A disaster of unimaginable proportions? The time to ignore these warnings is running out. Padre Pio left his prophecies not to scare, but to prepare those who are willing to listen. And now, as we see the signs described by him unfolding, the big question is, are we ready for what is to come? The morality that once guided society is being rejected, and what was once considered sacred is now ridiculed. The very concept of right and wrong is being distorted, and those who try to remain faithful to their faith are often marginalized. Padre Pio warned that this spiritual collapse would be one of the last signs before the great purification. But he also warned that, even in the midst of chaos, there would be a call to repentance. He spoke of a time when many would begin to awaken to the truth and seek God again. This spiritual rebirth, however, would not come without suffering. He said that before the dawn of a new era, humanity would go through terrible trials. The signs are everywhere. The world is more unstable than ever. Armed conflicts, natural disasters, political corruption, and economic crises are intensifying. And while all this is happening, those who pay attention to Padre Pio's prophecies cannot help but wonder, are we witnessing the fulfillment of what he predicted? If the United States really is the nation he spoke of, then the fate of the country, and perhaps the entire world, may be about to change irreversibly. But is there hope? Padre Pio never said that destruction was inevitable, only that the signs would be clear to those who chose to see. The question now is, will people recognize these warnings before it's too late? And more importantly, will they do something about it? He described an economic collapse so deep that no one would be spared from its consequences. Companies would go bankrupt overnight, banks would collapse, and those who blindly trusted the modern financial system would be left with nothing. He warned that this crisis would not happen by chance, but would be part of a larger plan, a mechanism to redefine the global economy and establish a new system of total control. What we are seeing today is frighteningly similar to your prediction. The cost of living is skyrocketing, inflation keeps rising, and millions of people are struggling to survive. The middle class is disappearing, while the inequality between the rich and the poor is growing to unprecedented levels. Experts warn that we are on the brink of an unprecedented financial collapse. And if Padre Pio was right, this could be one of the last signs before the Great Darkness. Furthermore, Padre Pio spoke of a time when money would lose its value. He predicted that a new economic system would be imposed, where people would have to follow strict rules in order to buy or sell. This echoes the biblical prophecy about the mark of the beast, where no one could participate in the economy without accepting a specific system of identification and control. Today, we see governments and corporations promoting digital currencies and eliminating physical money, creating a framework that could make this prophecy a terrifying reality. Another key element of Padre Pio's vision was the scarcity of food. He predicted a time when supermarkets would be empty, food prices would skyrocket, and people would struggle to find something to eat. Today, we see alarming signs that this food crisis has already begun. Extreme climate problems, logistical collapses, and misguided political decisions are causing difficulties in the global distribution of food. If this prediction is coming true, then hunger will not just be a problem in poor countries, but something that will affect all nations. The dependence on fragile supply chains controlled by a few corporate giants will make it impossible for most people to survive without following the new imposed rules. Time is running out. Padre Pio did not give these warnings to spread fear, but to prepare those who are willing to see the truth. He always emphasized that in the midst of chaos, those who remain steadfast in faith will find protection and guidance. He advised people to stock up on food, water, and essential supplies for the hard times that were coming. He believed that such a great crisis could leave people without access to basic resources for weeks or even months. Today, many who follow his prophecies are preparing, stockpiling supplies, and learning survival skills. Another crucial point in his instructions was to avoid total dependence on the system. He warned that those who blindly trusted governments and banks for their security would be the first to suffer when everything collapsed. He believed that a new system would be imposed, and those who were not prepared would be at the mercy of those who control the resources. But the most impactful warning of all was about the need for spiritual discernment. Padre Pio stated that in the end times, many people would be deceived. He warned that false promises of salvation would arise, that charismatic leaders would appear offering easy solutions, but that they would lead people even further away from the truth. He emphasized the importance of recognizing the signs and staying firm in faith, as there would be a great illusion that would make even the believers doubt. This deception, according to him, would come from all sides, media, governments, even within religious institutions. Today, with misinformation spreading rapidly and ideologies distorting the truth, many believe that this warning is already becoming a reality. Society is more confused and divided than ever, and people are being manipulated without realizing it. If these prophecies are truly being fulfilled, then the question that remains is, are we prepared? The warnings of Padre Pio were not given to instill fear, but to awaken us. He believed that those who remain vigilant and spiritually prepared could face any challenge that lay ahead. What we are seeing today is just the beginning, or have we already entered the final phase of this prophecy? Do you believe that these predictions are coming true before our eyes? Leave your opinion in the comments and share this video so that more people can reflect on the times we are living in. The signs are there, Padre Pio warned, and now it's up to us to decide how to react. Ignoring these warnings could be humanity's greatest mistake, as those who are unprepared may not have time to act when the worst arrives. The world is already different, and every day, more pieces of this great puzzle seem to fit together. If your prophecy is correct, we are heading towards a period that will change everything we know. Chaos, darkness, and confusion will increase, but there is also hope. Padre Pio not only warned about what was to come, but also revealed how those who are spiritually firm will be able to endure the tribulations. What do you think of all this? The events we are witnessing today are just coincidences, or are they the signs prophesied so long ago? Are we approaching the point of no return? Leave your comment below and share this video so that more people can reflect on what is happening in the world. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button to continue following revelations and mysteries that many prefer to hide. Time is running out. Are you ready?